welcome to Power Talk Thursday with the Molly Ramming on this Thursday, January 16th, 2014. Today we're discussing young people and how we can get young people more in tune or plugged in or promote them so that they can flourish. My guest today, I have two, Darnell Whymms from Renaissance Movement, and she's going to explain to us what Renaissance Movement is. For those of you who listen regularly, you will remember a few weeks back she was on, but we didn't get enough time to discuss everything that was going on, that she had going on. And then we have a lovely young lady who's going to introduce herself in a few minutes and tell us what she's up to. But let me start by saying welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mwale.
Thank you for having us.
So, Renaissance Movement, what is it?
Well, Mwale, Renaissance Movement, as you can indicate by the name, it has everything to do with art.
Right.
However, the meaning of Renaissance is a rebirth of interest in learning. So to put it just in a few seconds, Renaissance Movement is a movement for young persons to get them involved and excited about not only learning, but also producing, being themselves, being creative. And we use the arts, that's painting and drawing. We also use singing. But the whole idea is to get them to be themselves and to develop the talents that they have somewhat dormant and in some cases very active.
Well, if you recall the last time you were on the show, we were talking about the fact that the Bahamas' birth of its cultural self happened in the 70s. And then it went dormant for a long while. And then the early to mid-90s, there was the first Renaissance. That's when Bahamian music, Bahamian culture became more interesting to Bahamians. And then there was a sort of surge in interest, and then not that it went dormant again, but it died down a little bit. So I guess this is ushering in the second Renaissance, but this time focusing on young people.
Exactly. I'm hoping that the Bahamian public at large, and of course young persons, would become open to the concept that we're trying to present to young persons and to the Bahamian society at large. We want an opportunity for young persons that would allow them to soar. And therefore, if we can have these group of young persons who are soaring, who are just telling us in a nutshell, this is who I am. I'm a proud Bahamian. The Bahamas has given me this opportunity and I'm comfortable in my skin. This is my expression of my love for my country and the love for the freedom that my country affords. If we can have them buying into it and promoting these young persons, then we would have a second set of persons or a second renaissance whereby persons will be promoting a progressive and a Bahamas that is of age.
Well, before we get to, because I really want to talk about that and how you're finding the environment and the exposure, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Darnell Whymms. I'm also part of the Renaissance Movement, and I have, like she said, I have seen myself flourish within the years of being a part of it. It first started when I hosted my first spring concert because I sing classical and jazz music. I hosted my own concert featuring one of my original songs called Reflections. With a lot of young people who have been influential in my life, and I believe that they could be really influential in taking the Bahamas to the next level, to prove to us, to prove to ourselves and to prove to international people that we are a progressive nation. I also have started my own natural hair line. It's called Sa Beauté Naturelle. I love French, so I thought to incorporate that, and what Sa Beauté Naturelle means is her natural beauty. So I thought that I would use all of my talents, all of my gifts, all of my abilities to help to round myself to make me a better person and to show the younger people and the older people that there are people in the Bahamas, young people in the Bahamas who have a lot to offer, and that we're not just all about parties and exploiting ourselves in the wrong ways, but making ourselves known in society for good things.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned that you're a singer and you sing classical and jazz. Who are some of your influences?
Oh, some of my influences, Bahamians would be Mrs. Audrey Wright. She is the director of the COB's concert choir. Mrs. Joanne Callender, I had just met her during the Christmas, and I had told her that I was so inspired by her voice and her talent, how she started from such an early age, and now she's able to go across the the globe and travel and tour in Europe. And also my choir director, Mr. Cleophas Adderley, I mean, I can say that he has pushed me to be a better singer, to want to see myself thrive and, just be, it helps me to be an overall better person.
And I hope that you're realizing that if you thrive and you do well, then you become a role model for a later generation of people who can look up to you and say there's another Bahamian that's doing it well.
Yes, and that's eventually my plan.
When I was growing up, there wasn't really room for arts. The arty people, when we were in high school, were the weird ones, kind of didn't get along with anybody, and we didn't give them room to be artists.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that that's changed, or is it changing?
It is changing, but I can attest to being weird because I'm a little awkward myself when it comes to social situations. But I find that people are more accepting because they realize that there isn't everything. Everything doesn't revolve around being popular. You have to have some other attributes to you other than being popular. You can't just be this person who's known for dressing well or throwing these tremendous parties. You have to have some type of standard about you. So if you have these talents that people can see that they can be inspired by watching you do something, I think the times has changed where people who are artists, the weird ones, are being more socially acceptable in a number of social environments.
And Dada, I wanted to speak to, what are you finding that the young people are latching on to in terms of art? Is there one particular, is it singing, is it painting? What do you see that they're doing, that they're perhaps doing more than they were doing when I was young?
Well, I have to say that there is no one fixed expression.
Okay.
Art is an expression of creativity, and these young persons, what has blown me away is that when we were limited in our age bracket to painting or dancing, I'm seeing persons now, take for instance, there's a young man that I admire, Jamai. This young man, not only is he a dancer, but he can actually twist into so many different forms and what have you, a contortionist. Who ever thought about a contortionist in the Bahamas?
Exactly.
And, just a little, he's a part of Imanji Circus with Jarvis Bain.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis Grant. I'm so sorry for getting the name wrong. I hope he didn't hear that. But there is the internet that is giving them an impression. And many of them are using this to find other forms of expression.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask. Is it the fact that we've become a global village, meaning, when I was in high school, you knew what was around you. So generally, and even pretty much what was around you in terms of just your school, not necessarily what it was like to be in another school. Now you get home from school, you turn on the internet, and not only is there acceptance, there's encouragement from all of the so-called, strange, weird art kids. And they've sort of gone with that and begun to flourish. Is that what you're seeing?
That is exactly what is happening. Take, for instance, myself. I would normally make my own clothing when I'm ready. So depending on how I want to look on a given day, that's how I design and make my clothing.
Right.
And I would have students go whimsy, and that's an expression of who they are because they're creative. And sometimes I've actually taught one or two to do a bit of sewing as well. And so the idea is we're comfortable in our own expression or our own skin. And we're not afraid to be different. And that is one of the things that I have kind of encouraged, the outspokenness, but just be a little tactful. Be yourself. Say what you have to say.
Well, a lot of Fortune 500 companies now are going out looking for these people.
Yes.
I would say these people, looking for artists, because they find that their approach to problem solving is different from everybody else's.
That is true. I tell you, I was telling one of my students one particular day, I remember working at a particular institution. I saw this colleague coming toward me, and I smiled. And I said, oh, that's so-and-so, and it's such a pleasure to see this person. But I was solving a problem in my head. So I probably was in China at that time that I actually met up with this person.
Right.
And she touched me on my shoulder. She said, Darnell. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, please do understand it. I saw you, and that is what happens because they seem to take a little longer. I've had students, because I'm that type of person, I've had students, I give them specific instructions. And the old school, when I say A, I want you to do it right away. But there are some students who sit down and calculate. And they have to wait for a response because they're in their mind, they're trying to devise some strategy to going ahead, and I've seen it. One particular young man said, Mrs. Whymms, you took 30 minutes to explain something that you can explain to me in 4 words. So see here? And he said the 4 words. So I laughed because of the fact that, they know. I told them they're very smart. They're smarter than us.
Well, I want to find out where the whole idea from Renaissance movement came from and where it started and where it's at now and how people can get involved. You're listening to Power Talk Thursday with the Molly Rang on GEMS 105.9 FM. We'll be right back. Molly Ramming on GEMS 105.9 FM. Before we get into Renaissance movement and how it started, I want to go ahead and take this caller real quick. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Good day, Wally. How you doing, buddy?
I'm very well. How are you?
All right, and good evening to you. Yes.
Good evening.
So much to say, but I just want to simply say that, first of all, I certainly congratulate the young lady in there who was talking about her jazz and classical experiences in music.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I can relate to that somewhat because when I was in college, I studied classical music and a little bit of the jazz. Now, I'm a flute player, a music principal in college. I was, and a flute player in terms of my instrument of interest.
Mm-hmm.
A fellow wind musician.
Yes, a wind instrument.
I don't know if I can still say it, but at one point I played the saxophone.
Well, it's been that long for you, huh?
It's been that long.
The thing here, Marla, is that, it is so nice to hear that a lot of the young people today have the support and the encouragement, not just of their mentors, such as the lady there in the studio. What's your name, ma'am? I didn't get the name.
Darnell Whymms.
Okay, Ms. Whymms. It is nice that you're there to encourage and motivate and to support and to enlighten the younger generation. I know when I was growing up, I must sadly say that I did not have that type of a platform to catapult me. Well, when I first started while I playing the flute at the age of 16, I practiced for 13 hours a day.
Wow.
And that's how much passion I had for the instrument and for music.
So have you gotten to your 100,000 hours yet?
Maybe. Who knows? I started when I was 16 and I'm now 50, so maybe
Wow.
I have.
Well, that's one of the things we were saying, especially for me. When I was in high school, there wasn't room for those artistic types. We would make fun of them.
Right.
And we would beat down their creativity. Now, I'm hoping that things have changed and maybe there's more room for them.
You see, one of the things that I want to ask about, too, is even though, it is good to appreciate other styles of music and other cultures, what I'd like to know is what emphasis, and I think I heard you saying earlier from Wally about the renaissance of Bahamian music, how it came in quote-unquote waves over our history, ebb and fall.
Right.
But what I'd like to find out now is what sort of emphasis is being placed on authentic/indigenous Bahamian culture. And I know there are very many expressions of it, but I'm talking about that which truly identifies us, Ms. Whymms, as Bahamians. Are you promoting, encouraging, supporting the younger generation to actually explore more of the authenticity of the Bahamian experience?
Wait, before she answers, this is a much bigger question that we'll have to get into at some other time.
Right.
Because I am one of the people who argue that if it is being done by a Bahamian, it is by definition Bahamian music.
I cannot agree with you on that one.
I know. That's why I say I know that this is a hot topic and bone of contention because I don't know if you know who my dad is.
Yes.
But so I get a lot of flack from that, from people saying I'm not even talking about true Bahamian music, rake and scrape music, gumbe music, as Fred Ferguson likes to say.
Right.
And I agree with you. I agree with you that it's possible. It's possible that, we should be putting some emphasis. But I also want to go on record again and saying is if you are a Bahamian and you are doing it, then it is by definition Bahamian music. That's my position. I know it's not yours, but I'll let Ms. Whymms answer.
Okay, before you throw the can of worms in, I wish you hadn't done that before Mrs. Whymms got to talk. But just allow me to say this, though. You see, that is fundamentally in error for the simple reason that a boat isn't water because it sails in water. A boat is metal. The water is the element that it flows into, or rather sails into. For example, reggae music can never be Bahamian because reggae music isn't Bahamian. No matter how many Bahamians play reggae music.
Now, let me ask you this. There are very famous African reggae singers who are famous throughout the globe. Are they not African? Are they not doing African music?
Now, see, you're telling me something that I'm just hearing about African reggae.
I'm telling you, and when I discovered this, I discovered this, and
I'm hearing that.
They're hugely famous, and I didn't know about this. So I discovered this, and this is one of the things. I don't know if you know this. I was telling both ladies just now, I did a song.
Yeah.
I was lucky to do the song. It's on an R&B singer. He asked me to do some part in it, and I did a part in it, and it was very, very successful, and I was very, very happy with it.
Right.
But I sang reggae in it.
Right.
Now, when I go to Dubai, everybody knows who I am.
Okay.
In the Bahamas, nobody knows who I am.
Well,
Should we celebrate?
A lot of our notable Bahamians here.
That's my question. Should we be celebrating Bahamians who are doing art that is not necessarily recognized as Bahamian art?
See, I believe that any Bahamian who's accomplishing or achieving, pursuing rather their passions and are successful at it, ought to be recognized for the accomplishment that they make, no matter what area that they're in. But again, Mwale, and I want to now get off to Ms. Whymms. In respect to Bahamian music, Bahamians, we have our own identification in terms of Bombay, Young Canoe, Stop the Roach, etc., etc. And you know who Joseph Spence was, right?
Of course,
right?
Of course.
I understand he is the most sought-after Bahamian artist on the internet.
Not on the internet. People don't know this about him. Grammy award-winning guitarist used to come to him in Andros to say, "Teach me what you're doing."
Okay. Now, see, you are speaking to the point that I really want to get across to Ms. Whymms and I guess. If we Bahamians become knowledgeable of and proud of our indigenous identity, could we not just be as successful in selling of the authentic us?
Well,
To always have to quote unquote imitate other people.
You know what? I love this discussion. This is one of my favorite discussions because you could possibly sway me on this, possibly. But let me let Ms. Whymms answer.
Yeah, so I would appreciate that.
Okay. I would answer you, yes. We are doing what we can to remind Bahamian young people of their culture.
Yeah.
We have just, in collaboration with the National Heroes Day Committee, Father Canon Sebastian Campbell, we hosted an exhibition that is still presently in the general foyer of the General Post Office on East Street Hill.
Right.
That is highlighting various aspects of majority rule. So we are doing our part with that in that regard. Last year we hosted an art exhibition which spoke to our culture, the feeding of the goat on the islands and the sitting down smoking the pipe, and on the family islands we were known to ward off mosquitoes in the evening while we told our story, to burn coconut bark. So there were paintings of that like in the General Post Office. So there are things that we are doing.
But specifically
However,
Bahamian music.
Specifically Bahamian music, well, we do not specifically address Bahamian music. We have not, let me say it like that. But it is a part of the whole process, being aware of who we are.
Right.
Now, when it comes to asking young persons to identify with their personal creativity and to communicate that to an audience, we do not limit these young people. So there, I guess, Mwale is, his point is validated in that if they like jazz, they like jazz. If they like classical music, they like classical music. If they like reggae, if they like soca, if they like junkanu, we've done the junkanu with them. They know how to pace. Some of them they've learned how to beat drums and shake cowbells, and then of course play the instruments.
The thing is, Whymms, what I heard Amwale say, and I think he was speaking from a different point that you just made reference to. Amwale was saying be that if a Bahamian is performing any style of music, that very music by definition is Bahamian. Did I hear you correctly, Amwale?
You are quoting me 100%.
And that's where I fundamentally disagree with you. Again, like I say, ship doesn't become water just because it is floating in water. It's metal floating in water.
If an American is doing jazz, do we call that American music?
But guess what? Jazz is American.
If American is singing opera, if American
jazz originated in America.
One of only 2 original musics to America. But okay, correct.
So that's American by the very fact that it originated there.
So if an American is doing reggae, do we call that American music?
No, you can't. With all due respect to your thinking, so we can't call that American music.
My point is they don't ask the originality of the person. They don't ask where the origin of the person.
Everybody knows that in the 80s, I think it was, Michael Manley in Jamaica, the Prime Minister at the time, made sure that Jamaican music was played exclusively for many years in Jamaica. And look at the fruits of that today. They were proud of who they are as Jamaicans. They promoted it to the world. The world ran to them to learn and to expose what they were doing. And now everybody all over the world is singing and playing reggae. And I believe the same could have been done and still can be done by Bahamians in this country if we were to learn our indigenous sound and we were to go out there and promote it. I don't knock anybody for being diverse in their repertoire.
But see, this is where you could sway me. I am agreeing that we need to make sure that we don't lose our Bahamian identity, especially musical identity.
Yes.
And I understand what you're saying, and you and Fred Ferguson would agree 100%, and I would agree with that too.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that we should make everybody in the Bahamas do one type of music. But I got to take a break. They're playing me off now. I want to thank you very much for your call, and listen, and we'll touch on the subject that you brought up.
And the best to the young lady again, and I wish you guys all the best with what you're doing. And I hope to hear some more of the Bahamian sounds and flavors coming out of Miss Whymms.
Well, thank you very much. And you can just follow on Facebook, Renaissance Movement. Also, we have another page, 242 Salute.
Yes.
And Sa Beauté Naturelle.
Sa Beauté Naturelle. All right, but we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Power Talk Thursday with Mwale Ramming. My guests today are the Whymms women. We've been talking about Renaissance movement. It's a movement to encourage artistic creation in young Bahamians. Please go ahead, join the Facebook page, Renaissance Movement. And they also have another page called
242 Salute.
242 Salute.
And then it's Sa Beauté Naturelle.
Sa Beauté Naturelle.
Yes.
In French, it means her natural beauty. Yeah. Tell me more about that.
It basically started, I started going natural in 2013. I started to go natural. One of my friends, she inspired me because she was telling me that you would look so much better. You would look more like yourself with your natural hair. You have to learn how to embrace it. And so I took the plunge and I baked chops. So I had this little bowl afro. I had really short hair. But after a while, I realized that the products that I was using in my hair, they weren't conducive to keeping my hair long. I mean, to retaining the length and to keep the moisture in. So I was like, I could do my own research. I could make my own products. And then finally I was like, since I can do my own products, I could make this marketable. I say, if I have this wealth of knowledge, why not share it with the wider Bahamian public? So I did all my research, and I realized that there were benefits in doing strictly natural products for your hair, because there are no additives, there are no chemicals in the product to stunt your hair, to cause the hair to want to drop or to be dry and brittle. So I looked into all of that. So I along with the inspiration and the pushing of my mummy, I started my own natural hairline, and I officially launched it about a week ago, but I've been doing this since July of 2013.
So what type of products are you talking about?
I do whipped shea butter, a co-wash, and then it's hair oil. In the whipped shea butter, it's all of the products are natural, so there are no sulfates, no dyes, no preservatives. So it's like strictly natural. I had this one lady, she took a scoop of the product and she ate it. I'm like, what are you doing? She said, it's natural. I'm supposed to be able to eat it. So I was like, okay. So she did that. So it's the whipped shea butter. That's for the moisture, and there are essential oils for ethnic hair that are included in the shea butter. Just to name a few, like soy oil and olive oil, they are excellent for ethnic hair. Then I also have the co-wash. What I do is I use a non-sulfate conditioner base, and then I use humectants, and I use the essential oils as well. Then I have a hair oil that is strictly oil, with about 8 or 10 natural hair oils for your hair. And what I do is I know this is really out of their thinking pattern, that I actually go and along with the help of my brother, I go and I get coconuts from the coconut tree, and I extract the coconut oil from the coconuts. So if somebody walks into my yard on a given day, they'll be like, why are you doing this? You look so primitive. But I believe that in order to love yourself, to embrace who you naturally are, and you have to, stray away from the conventional means of getting beauty and embrace who you naturally are, and that comes with being artistic as well. You get to express yourself in a light or in a way that nobody can identify with, that people have to learn to identify with. And as somebody, I went to speak with somebody on a meeting yesterday, and they asked me, they're like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 19. They're like, you're doing this at 19? When I was 19, I just was in school, and I'm just focusing. I'm like, I thought this was normal.
So again, this falls into the whole giving artists space and allowing them to create and investigate and discover.
Yes.
So if I wanted your products, where would I go?
Well, you can contact me. I have WhatsApp. My number is 535-6864. I have a Facebook page. It's called Sa Beauté Naturelle. I'll spell that though. SABEAUTENATURELLE. And then I have a YouTube page. You can find it under Sa Beauté Naturelle. I have a blog page.
Well, I was going to ask you about the YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel where people can go and see tips and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I just uploaded the second video actually this morning. before preparing to come here, I prepared that video and I put it out. So I have, and I also have a blog as well. You can find it at Sa Beauté Naturelle Bahamas at WordPress.com. So I'm all up in the social media, because I want Bahamians to know that there are young Bahamians who are doing something natural. You don't have to explore your talents just by throwing parties and doing these, because I know a lot of people are into throwing parties nowadays. That's how they make people know who they are, that there are people who want to explore a different route of expressing who they are and expressing what young people in the Bahamas can do.
And have you found the reception to the whole idea of a young person putting out a hairline, a natural hairline?
Well, amongst my peers, they are impressed. They're like, Daviel, where do you find the time to do this? Because my major at COB is biochemistry. And biochemistry is a really tough thing to manage with music and doing my own hairline. I thank God for His grace, because I know a lot of people would be out of their minds by now. But amongst my peers, they are impressed, and amongst older people, like I said, the older lady yesterday I spoke with, she's like, how are you doing this? How at 19 you have the mindset to do something on such a big scale? It's good on the whole.
And the stores the stores have invited you.
Oh
to
yeah, and I forgot about that for a moment there. But I was invited by Universal Beauty Supplies to put my product in their store in the East Street location. So as of Monday, you can go and purchase the products from the East Street location of Universal Beauty Supplies.
So it sounds like you're doing well.
Yes.
Ms. Whymms, is this the type of thing that you envisioned when you started the Renaissance movement? Just, like having people flourish and I guess you couldn't have known at the time what direction that flourishing would go.
But mind you, one of our objectives is to provide a platform for young persons to make have some monetary gain, compensation for their talents. We placed a play in the summer, and the whole idea was to give them the young persons who would have acted in the play some little stipend.
Right.
And that is what we're all about. There is another young man, he does video productions and what have you. He makes his little monies off that as well. And the idea is, as whatever talents that they have, to actually kind of present them, and they go from there.
And is this your biggest success story so far?
Fair enough. Fair enough. We've had a lot of persons, mind you, who were, how should I put it, problem students, because I don't like to, categorize or generalize, but that's what they were categorized as. And we have kind of erased that and started over from scratch with them. Mind you, they gave a little bit of challenges every now and again, and we've seen them come around and successfully complete high school and actually do well. One young man, he was on drugs. I could never forget that. And he came back to school, and we helped, and he said, Mrs. Whymms said, something, I'm going to make a turnaround, I'm going to do better, because he was expelled from another institution. And we had a nice hearty talk. His sister came with him. His parents kind of gave the okay, but they did not show up. And he eventually graduated out of high school, passed exams, and went off. When I saw him was at my nephew's graduation, and all nicely dressed, and telling me he was completing a bachelor's in computer studies. That I was a little overwhelmed, and I stood by him with my shoulders squared, because I had some little, input in his development.
Do you see this being scalable? Meaning, I don't know how many people you have involved in the Renaissance movement, but it seems to me that this is something that all young people should be involved in. Even if you're not artistic, everyone has an artistic side, has something that they can develop. And I believe that if you develop that artistic side, that will invariably help both you and society. Do you see this being scalable and growing?
It is scalable, and that is our hope. The Facebook page has over 313 young persons who would have joined the page. And what I've been asking them is to come out to meetings and get involved in the activities. We've posted activities. We've hosted a workshop where we've had persons in the various arts who have professions in those areas.
I was going to suggest to JT when he called. I said, let's make a deal. You guys will go and get Puzzle, and have Puzzle come in and talk to them about doing Bahamian music as young people.
Yes.
One of my favorite artists, by the way.
Okay.
But stuff like that sounds like that could be very encouraging.
Yes, we wanted to increase on a larger scale, and of course we need the involvement of the Bahamian professionals as well in assisting us to further develop the program. But the young persons, they are willing, and the challenge that I've found out is that, okay, Mrs. Whymms, I'm going to work hard at this, but what reward am I getting? You're saying that we're going to get rewards, and these people, they're saying they're going to help, but the general public,
I haven't seen it happen yet.
Let me see it happen. Seeing is believing. And sometimes opportunities come, but just after one or two would have given up.
Yeah.
And so if we can have those opportunities right there to say, okay, here, because it's not enough for the hunger that these young people have.
Do you accept corporate sponsors?
Definitely. If you have opportunity to and what we're looking for really is to actually to go right into the opportunities for the young people, not so much the institution. Mind you, it's good because it would be there, but if these young persons can have a direct sponsorship or that's what we're looking for to push them.
All right, but when we come back from this break, I'm going to find out more about how the corporate world could get involved.
Yes.
And then I'm going to want you to tell me more about your singing and all the stuff that you do. You mentioned the choir and all that stuff. So I want to find out about all of the stuff that you're doing. Today we're talking about young people, creativity, and how it impacts both us as a society and them in particular. This is Power Talk Thursday with Imwale Ramming on GEMS 105.9 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Power Talk Thursday with Imwale Ramming on GEMS 105.9 FM. My guest today, Darnell Whymms of Renaissance Movement, and the lovely Davielle, I didn't want to get it wrong, Whymms, who is a beneficiary of Renaissance Movement, been involved with it for a while. You've told us about your hairline and where you can get it. Where can you get it again?
At the Universal Beauty Supply Store on East Street.
Or WhatsApp you?
WhatsApp me at 535-6864 or the Facebook page at Sa Beauté Naturelle.
Sa Beauté Naturelle. Look it up in French. It'll tell you how to spell it. But you do much more than that.
Yes, I presently involved in about 4 choirs. I sing with the National Youth Choir of the Bahamas, the COB Concerts Choir, the Renaissance Singers, and a subsidiary group out of COB's choir, which is the Voices of Paradise.
Okay.
Yes.
And you do your own thing.
And I do my own thing on the side.
Where would I go to see you perform?
Actually, I was planning a concert for mid-March. It's about it's a jazz concert because I love jazz music. My second love besides biology or classical music is jazz, and I think that it suits my voice. It suits my voice well. That's my genre. So in mid-March, I'm trying to put on a concert, and I'll be presenting a few of my personal pieces along with one of my friends, Hashan Adderley. He wrote the song for me. He helped me write the song. He produced my track. I just, and what you were saying earlier about incorporating being Bahamian singing, Bahamian music, I thought about it, and along with my mom, she was expressing to me that yes, you love jazz, but yes, you could sing Bahamian music. You could sing songs with jazz that included a Bahamian feel to it, that included that Jankanu feel to it. So that's something I'm working on now. So I'm hard at work at producing that original track where you could hear the jazz, but you could also feel the gold skin drums, and you could feel the bass. I mean, the ghost skins.
and those two are difficult to go together. Jazz and Jankanu, different beats, different rhythm, different sounds. So it'll be interesting once you pull that together to hear that.
Oh yes. I so far, I think that the smoothness of jazz and the ruggedness of our Bahamian culture and our Jankanu, I like you said, it's a little hard to listen to. It's a very large contrast, but once you have that mind that you're going to make these two things work together, I don't think there should be anything stopping you in producing a piece that everybody would want to listen to, a piece that everybody would want to sing, something that's catchy. And
how come you do all of these things? And when I say that, I mean a lot of people be content to. I have one. I don't want to call it a pastime. I have one thing that I'm involved in outside of my main thing, which would be school. And I don't need more than that. Where's this drive come from? Is it just the love of music, the love of singing with different people, different choirs, different groups?
My mom.
I'm thinking you're gonna blame me.
I don't know what it is, but from as a young child, I remember she told us to express ourselves, and she told us to express ourselves in an intellectual way. So when I'm not very good at arguing with people, but when I do argue with people, I pull out some words out of my hat, and they're like, "What are you even saying to me?" So I find out that that helps me a lot. So she's an architect and she's a teacher and she does these so many things. So I never felt constrained to express myself in one light. I spoke to one of my friends the other day and I'm like, I have all of these different passions and I have to if I don't express myself in these different passions, I feel like I'm so unfulfilled because I told her 1 year I went a year without singing, and that was a year. If I wanted to become a troubled teen, I could have done it because I was so unhappy. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my purpose. So I believe that if you have these different goals, that you should try and develop them to the best of your ability because I mean, they're yours to develop. They're yours to impact the world with. So, and it depends on the style that you were brought up in as well. Because some people are taught that, okay, education is important, that you must focus only on education because this is going to take you where you need to go. But that's not the truth. I've had opportunities in education. I have had opportunities in music and drawing because I do some artwork as well. I've had many opportunities, so not only education can get you where you need to go in the world because it's developing so fast that you need to have a lot of things under your belt.
Well, I tell people this. I was lucky enough to get a platinum plaque, and I got 2 copies, and I gave one to my dad and one to my mom. My mom is an educator, and my dad is, among other things, an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk into my mom's house, the first thing you see is my university degree. When you walk into my dad's house, the first thing you see is the plaque. So you're right, you got to get it from both sides in order to keep perspective. And what's next for you? What's your big goal, ultimate goal? Because you're in biochem?
Biochemistry.
Where are you going with that?
I want to study medicine. My goal is to be an OBGYN, to go into obstetrics and gynecology with a side degree in pediatrics, and I hope to use my art and my music skills in doing music therapy and art therapy. So I mean, I have a lot of things that I have envisioned, and I know it takes a lot of time to get there. Somebody told me that, Daviel, you have no time to experience life because you'll be in school all of your life. But these things are my life. These things, I enjoy them to the fullest. Like when it's time for concert season to start singing, I probably don't come home till after 12 some nights. And I'm tired, but I feel so fulfilled that I have had the opportunity to do that and be a part of something greater. So those are my, those are my set goals that I have for myself.
And you're going to come back with some of your music and let us play it on the station?
Oh, yes, I am, for sure.
Renaissance movement. What's your vision for this 5 years from now?
5 years from now, we are hoping that the movement itself would provide a greater platform for young persons and perhaps even have our own building whereby they can perform and they can excel and rehearse and at their leisure, because it would be their building to do whatever they decide or whatever aspect of the arts they would want to perform or promote. The building would be conducive to that.
Have you thought about going to government and asking their involvement, or do you shy away from that?
We have gone, and we've gotten some audience, but the reality is we have not gotten the help that we were looking for. And so what we're doing is we have been able to partner with, I said, the National Heroes Day Committee, who has given us some platform, and that's how you and I met. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say thank you very much to Freddie Munnings and to Cannon, because I laughed. I said, Cannon had so much faith in me. We were speaking for several weeks over the phone, Amwale. And he was just, yes, and he was very passionate about it because, of course, his love is the Bahamian culture. And there was this opportunity that young people were being involved in that as well. But we're looking for persons to give us an audience. And we have gotten, some headway. And our aim is to do several activities to come toward that end. We are, of course, doing an awards banquet whereby we have looked at honoring persons, and we are actually designing our own trophies that are going to be awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. As a matter of fact, we have designed them, so we're going to make them. And of course, we spoke about sculpture making and what have you. So all of these are a part of what we do and to promote to promote
Have you
an ad.
have you gotten any? I don't know if you've gotten in touch with anybody from the National Art Gallery. On a separate show, when we were talking about art, and I've had John Cox on the show.
Right.
He'll be modest, but he's one of the reasons there are the young artists today, because he was an artist when we were in high school together.
That is true.
And he's been an artist his whole life, and he forged ahead, and he was like, there's room for us, there's room for us. And a lot of people, a lot of artists exist now as artists because of him. So I mean, I'm not speaking for him, but I would be surprised if this is not something that he doesn't get excited about.
Well, I believe that he honestly would, because he does promote it. I'm quite familiar with the work that he would have done. I've had an opportunity to look at it, and of course I have constant emails from the National Art Gallery that speaks to the work that they do. So definitely, I never thought about it in that light, because we were looking at the overall picture. But definitely,
I think I think you would find him more than interesting, especially if it's giving a platform to young artists. That's been his thing for years and years, and he's very good at it. And I mean, we also, I'm extremely proud of the National Art Gallery. I think we have great stuff in there, and I'm pretty sure some of your kids are going to end up there eventually.
Oh, one of them, as a matter of fact, has been.
See?
And oh, for heaven's sake, she was so proud of it. Her work was featured in the junior artist that they just did a few months back.
Wow, okay, see?
Yes. And of course, the Central Art Gallery, we had several students who did several pieces. And so Heino Schmidt, who went to we're on the same high school, they supported the school by permitting them to have some pieces of their work there as well. So it was a wonderful experience. And of course, the young persons, again, once they have the opportunity, they really thrive.
They thrive. So you're going to come back on at some later point with somebody else and another one of your success stories?
Definitely. There's a young man that I would love you to feature, Alden Chisholm. He is, in my opinion, a very good and a very promising photographer. Now, I don't know if he does video production as well.
Actually, my Sa Beauté Naturelle, we just did a product photo shoot, and he did the photo shoot for the product that was on Saturday at the pond at Bahama. And when I saw those pictures, I was just like, wow, man, you got some skill. I mean, I seen people take pictures before, and I mean, they just didn't compare to what he did, and the amount of work he did. Because after I left, he still was taking pictures of the products, and he gave them to me. He said to me, saying, man, listen, I'm excited for you. And I say, babe, what you talking about? I'm excited that you could be a part of what I'm doing. So, I mean, he's just an awesome, and he's one of my friends from the choir. So and
I was about to say, so we see it right there, fostering fellow artists together. Yes. I want to thank both of you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
And I look forward to seeing you in the next few weeks with another one of your promising artists. This is Power Talk Thursday with the Molly Ramming on GEMS 105.9. I'll talk to you guys next week.